PerkyPlanes and RC here, operating at 2.4 gigahertz. And now for something that I'm pretty positive I've never featured on the channel, at least in terms of an in-depth kind of thing. And also a part of the hobby that, in my opinion, is dying off. And frankly, I would love to see it brought back, because I think it's still an important part of the hobby. And so we're going to detour things a little bit and talk about helicopters. So yeah, I mean, this is one of those things that I've never really featured in depth on the channel. I know that when I've done some of my features from like some of our fun flies that we have at the club, as well as like the mall shows, you'll see some helicopter footage there. But as far as an in-depth thing and an in-depth discussion here on it, I've never really done it. Nor have I really shared my experience with helis. So there's that. And then also, like I said, I think that this part of the hobby is dying. When I go to a hobby store, I don't know if I ever see any helicopters or not. I mean, I think that it's mainly planes and cars and stuff. It's not really anything to do with helis. And like I said, frankly, I'd like to see that return back to its usual state. And I'm kind of convinced, and I have limited experience with helis, but I'm kind of convinced that a lot of the reason for helis not really being as popular is because, well, they're difficult. They're difficult to fly. And, I think people are looking for stuff that's easy to fly. And maybe don't want to take the time to learn how to fly something like this. You can do some amazing stuff with helicopters. I've watched some amazing flight footage. People zipping those things around the sky like you wouldn't believe. So anyways, we have a couple members of our club that are really, I would call them very heavily dedicated to helicopters. They usually bring a helicopter out at least anytime I've ever seen them at the club. They'll have a few planes and they'll have their helicopters, and they'll fly their helicopters exclusively, a lot. So, and it's something that I've never really featured on the channel, at least in depth like this. So, just to kind of share with you my experience with helicopters. I've flown ones that were probably very much obviously toy grade. But they were pretty much about that big. And it was something that you could sit there and fly in your kitchen, fly in the living room. Just something super small. The controller was about as, about as big as my hand. I mean, they were really tiny controllers, transmitters. So, and that's been my experience. And I was able to get the thing to sort of hover, and I could move it around a little bit and all that. But never really anything that was more hobby grade. This was one that I was, that actually I had, they had given it to me at one of our fly-ins. They were just trying to find a home for it, and they decided to pass it on to me. And helis are one of those things, like I said, I just don't have a lot of experience with. And I think this is more of a step in the direction towards more of your hobby grade kind of stuff. I mean, I think it's a little bit of an older model, because I think it does support the Spectrum DSM-2 technology. Because currently Spectrum has been on DSM-X for quite some time, but I think this one does support like the DSM-2. But this is probably, like I said, a little step closer to more of a hobby grade helicopter, even though it's probably closer to like the smaller toy grade stuff. But it's probably still a good introduction to the hobby grade helicopters. So let me just kind of open this guy up here. There's nothing really included with it except just the helicopter itself. Give me just a moment here to get the box open. Looks like it opens up this way. So bear with me a second here. So, yeah, this guy is really not much bigger than the ones I have flown. But still, I would classify it more still as hobby grade, just because it did come from Horizon Hobby and stuff. I mean, it's kind of a closer step to hobby grade helicopters. Probably not, as hardcore as some of the ones out there. And trust me, some of the guys at the field have those kind. They have the ones that are, the ones with the really huge blades, and I think their whole setup is the fuselage. Well, the body of the helicopter is probably a good 4 or 5 feet in length and stuff. So they have some of the larger ones. But again, like I said, this is probably at least a good starting point for helis. And if I remember correctly too, I believe there was, like, back in the day, there was, of course, helicopters that run on glow engines and stuff. But a lot of the stuff that I've seen has been more electric based. I have not actually seen a glow engine helicopter, but I know they exist, or even gas ones too. So, anyways, just wanted to kind of share this little piece of the hobby with you guys, and basically, what I'm asking you guys is, honestly, even though my focus really is a lot on airplanes, and probably always will be on airplanes, I still like to feature other RC things from time to time. As I have featured RC trucks and cars on here before, in a couple videos, I've shared drones, quadcopters, and things like that. And so I know helicopters is one of those things that I've never really shared in depth here on the channel. So if you're interested in maybe me showing a little more about helicopters and maybe some helicopter footage and things like that, leave me a comment, thumbs up, whatever, just let me know if you'd be interested to see that kind of stuff. I've kind of hinted at the guys in the field that I wouldn't mind learning how to do it. Some of the more advanced helicopters, basically, and a lot, and those guys are very, have been very open with wanting to teach me and stuff, and in fact they've actually let me do it a little bit, and well, I mean, we'll just say I've still got a long ways to go, so to handle one of those, but I know for a fact that they're good teachers, and they've even helped a buddy of mine kind of get familiar with them as well. So, but again, guys, if you're interested in seeing more, maybe a little bit on helicopters and things on the channel, give me a comment, like, thumbs up, all that kind of stuff, and let me know. But anyways, guys, that is all from me. Let's try and keep the helicopter part of the hobby alive, please. I mean, I hate to see parts of the hobby die off for whatever reason. I like to see people out there having fun with these kinds of things. So, but anyways, I want to thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.